Tina had loved Henry for 10 years and knew his taste all too well. As she immediately recognized his kiss, her panic faded, giving way to coldness. She turned away, clearly resistant and avoiding his forceful kisses. That in turn left him furious, and he grabbed her jaw with his large hand, firmly turning her back to kiss her. It only repulsed Tina further. Was he just trying to vent his rage for giving Linda grief? However, he was holding her down very firmly, and she could not escape. All she could do was clench her jaw, keeping his advances at bay and stop him from going any further. She flailed around more as well, even shoving at him, but the difference in strength between the sexes remained. She could not make him budge even as she pushed with all her strength, and he caught both her hands with just one of his, all while they moved even closer. So close she could sense Henry's burning desire. Tina's body stiffened. She arched her back, trying to avoid him again, but the genuine leather seat prevented her from backing up any further. Her eyes red in frustration, she growled through her teeth. "Let me go, Henry Barnes. You don't get to touch me." "Heh." Henry chuckled, his eyes flashing coolly. "No, right? She was his, and he got to do whatever he wanted with her, and she did not get to refuse." His hand clenched even harder around her jaw, and as her lips parted in pain, he seized the moment. The kiss was violent, as if Henry was just venting his rage. And when Tina tried to bite him again, he deftly dodged her as soon as she moved before following up with a deeper kiss. Tina had no choice but to take it until he released her, her lips already swelling and red. As she panted and Henry kissed her near the ear, she suddenly said, "Your dear Linda has already found out that we broke up. Don't you think it hurts her that you still want me?" Henry paused, but instead of pulling away, he nibbled her earlobe intimately. His voice was sinisterly cold, however, as he growled, "Why didn't you think of that when you drugged me and jumped me?" Tina's heart stopped at the mention of what happened 5 years ago, and she retorted as if by reflex, "I didn't drug you." "Heh." Henry chuckled. "Did you think I'd buy that?" He never believed her, not even 5 years ago. She never drugged him, but she had no idea why she was in his room either. He had already been drugged by then, but she was conscious. Intoxicated, he kissed her relentlessly, pinning her down in bed. She tried to push him away and run, but seeing the pain on his handsome face, she ultimately did not. All because she loved him too much, she decided to stay at that moment, and there was nothing she could say to defend herself against that. But now she refused to even defend herself, instead asking icily, "Then what do you want?" She might have loved him too much before, constantly arguing her innocence and not wanting his continued misunderstandings. But now there was no point to that. And at her cool question, Henry's gaze darkened as he growled, "I want you." Then, as Tina looked on in disbelief, he leaned in for another kiss on her lips. He was not giving her any chance to reject him. In fact, he pressed further, intent on taking her without letting her say no, let alone escape. Hence, the air in the car seemed to heat up, and Tina eventually gave up on resisting as Henry went further. She simply closed her eyes and turned her face aside, refusing to answer to his advances. They had done it countless times over 5 years, so she would know that her lack of enthusiasm really killed the mood for Henry, just like how it was at Maple Park the other day. Somehow he loved it when she took the reins and got a kick if she went the extra mile. That was why whenever he returned to their villa, she would do everything she could to suck up to him, just so that he would be in a better mood to hang around, just so that he would stay with Sophie a little longer. Nonetheless, being able to restrain her mind was not the same as restraining her body. Henry understood her physically the way she understood him as a person. And despite her best attempts to resist, his deep voice suddenly breathed beside her ear. "New play, huh? Playing hard to get." It was at once a diss and sarcasm, and Tina quickly opened her eyes to find Henry holding up his fingers at her. Even in the dimness of the basements, his fingertips were gleaming wet, because of her. His words seemed to echo by her ears with a dull hum, a fiery stinging slap to her face. But even if her body was hot, her heart was ice cold. Turning away from Henry's fingers to meet his impassive glare, her lips curled into a cool sneer. "It's just a normal physiological reaction, not because it's you. Hell, any man could get that out of me. I mean, don't you know that all too well? You have no love for me. Hell, you despise me to the bone. But that doesn't stop you from getting hard for me time and time again, does it? Those were sharp words to hide her embarrassment. But while she thought the insult would stop him, Henry did not, as no prideful man would stand for that. Instead, he pulled her by her legs toward himself, so that they were now crotch to crotch. It was brutish and coercive, but he would get what he wanted. Be that as it may, a familiar ringtone rang before anything actually happened. It was a call from Linda. Tina used to fear that ringtone. Whenever it rang, Henry would not hesitate to leave her and Sophie in a second. Now, however, she was sighing in relief. Any man would have trouble stopping when the juices in their bodies started flowing, but Henry could, for Linda at least. Withdrawing his hand from restraining Tina, he whipped out his phone to answer the call, though he kept her pinned down with his body. Henry! As Linda's tearful voice could be heard in the car, Henry's hand started moving over Tina's thigh, slowly brushing her skin and continuing upward.